Hey, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and in this video we're going to discuss something that I'm really excited for and also extremely concerned about. And what exactly can cause me to feel that way about something? Well, we're talking about today the current Mattel crowdfunded WWE New Generation arena set. This was a huge announcement that happened during the week of the virtual San Diego Comic-Con 2021, and yeah, it was a pretty big deal because this is the first time that Mattel has tried crowdfunding for a WWE product, and hopefully it's not going to be the last. And this sprang up as a very welcome surprise because I never expected Mattel to do something like this, but man, is this thing glorious. If you haven't seen it yet, we're going to go into some details about it in just a little bit. But yeah, this is essentially a Kickstarter that Mattel is doing to raise money to produce this ring and all the stuff that comes with it. Now, to get this thing completely funded, Mattel is only needing 5,000 backers to get the minimum amount of money they need to start production on this very limited edition thing. Now, the problem is, well, I'm recording this today on Saturday. It's been about a day since it launched now, a full 24 hours. And I think we've now just gone over 700 backers, probably closer to maybe 750 at this point. I'm not quite sure. We're not too deep in. I think we're about 15% of the way funded. And this video is going to be posted probably Wednesday, most likely on my channel. And I don't expect this thing to have gone further than 25% or within that range of being close to 25% funded by the day this video is released. And I hate to say it, but I think WWE figure collectors are sabotaging this entire crowdfunding thing without even realizing it. So I want to talk to you guys today about how it all works, hopefully alleviate some of your fears and concerns, and talk about why you need to back this ring, and you need to back it right now. So there's a few elements to break down here. There's been a lot of fan reaction to things, a lot of misinformation about how this whole thing is working. So I think the first thing I want to do is actually break down the value of this ring, and I think let's start there because it's a good place to begin, because obviously you are paying a premium for this item here. And if you're unfamiliar with the ring, let me just give you a little bit of background information on how this whole process works. So what's happening is that Mattel is asking you to spend $250 right now up front to invest in this ring. If they hit 5,000 backers, they will then produce the ring and everything it comes with a few other unlockables happening at the 7,000 backer and the 8,000 backer tiers. So what exactly does that $250 get you up front? Well, right now, if it breaks 5,000 backers and it gets funded, here's what you're getting. That's going to be, of course, the ring itself, which is similar to an authentic scale ring. Mattel did one of these previously as well. They did two of them, in fact. They did a Raw and a SmackDown ring that had electronic pieces. This one does not have electronic ring pieces, but it is basically a very, probably the most authentic style ring we've seen in that authentic scale. An authentic scale means it's basically double the size of the normal ring you'll see in like a toy store. That's usually like 20 bucks. And we're talking like Walmart or Target. It's that very basic ring with just the plastic shell. That's all it is. This is an authentic scale ring, and if you're not familiar with those, we reviewed a bunch of them from Jazzwares, Wicked Cool Toys, and in fact I actually just ordered that one from AEW. It's coming out hopefully in the fall. So what it basically is a much larger ring. It's going to have fabric canvas mat, die-cast turnbuckle posts with soft goods turnbuckles themselves, which are pretty cool, and interchangeable ring skirts. Now what's really unique about this ring is that it comes with faux wooden planks to put underneath the canvas. When I say faux wooden planks, I mean it's got plastic planks, similar to what you would do when you're building an actual ring. That's how it all works. They put wooden planks underneath the actual ring, they cover the canvas, boom, that's your wrestling ring. So that's the first time any company has done anything like that, and that's pretty awesome actually. That's really cool, very authentic. But you're not just getting a single ring here. What you're also getting is an entrance area, and this is the New Generation entrance ramp, essentially. And what it is this really cool looking base that lights up in the exact pattern that the original one did, the real life one did. And I've always wanted a replica of that. And I've seen folks selling cardboard versions or paper versions, whatever. They're nice, but this one actually lights up, and that's pretty awesome. It also includes a soft goods entranceway area that you can just kind of have your figures walk through. Whatever, that part's not as impressive, but the light up function is really amazing. And of course, you can't have a wrestling ring without steps, so there will be a set of steps for your characters to walk on as well. And probably what the big selling point is for it as well is it comes with a Diesel figure. And this is the first Diesel Ultimate Edition figure. This is a WWF champion version of Diesel, so it's got him in the black outfit, sunglasses, the championship belt, a few extra hands. I think it's got 2 or 3 heads. I don't quite remember how many it has, but I've got a picture up here for you guys to see exactly what it comes with. But that's pretty great. So that is essentially the base of what you're getting for this $250 price point here, and that's if it hits 5,000 backers. So if it breaks 5,000 backers, that means it gets funded, and hooray, we're all getting the ring. That's awesome. But if we go beyond that 5,000 backer point, if we hit 7,000 backers, then we get another exclusive figure, and that is a Doink figure, an Ultimate Edition of Doink, which is going to have, of course, fabric outfit, his hammer, more heads, hands. It's pretty awesome, and it's going to probably be the only way we ever get an ultimate version of Doink. And then lastly, if we hit 8,000 backers on this thing, we're going to get 2 sets of interchangeable ring skirts in addition to the ring skirts that already come with the ring itself. So now let's break down the price point of all these things. Let's actually figure out if it's worth the money, because a lot of folks are saying, is it actually worth $250? And that is debatable. So if we're going to talk first about the authentic scale ring, we know that those tend to be in the range of probably nowadays about 80 bucks, maybe 60 to 80 bucks, but I'd say closer to 80 bucks. And my price point reference for that is the current real scale ring that's coming out, authentic scale ring that's coming out from Wicked Cool Toys for AEW. Now, Ringside has an exclusive version with an Aubrey Edwards figure. I believe that one was $90. Whatever it was, basically, you're paying a little bit of a premium for it. Now, we know that Ultimate Edition figures cost 30 bucks, but what about the entranceway? That's kind of a variable here. So I would probably say that this would be about a $30 thing as well, because it's not really that much involved in it. There are electronics, and the electronics do a lot of work. They're not just lighting up once, they're doing a pattern. So there's a little bit of engineering involved in this here, so I'm going to put that at a $30 price point. So up front, not really worth $250 exactly. When we add on the additional tiers, we're definitely closer, because now we're putting on another $30 figure, and we have 2 sets of interchangeable ring skirts to go with it. Those are, I'd probably say, 10 bucks a piece normally, basing that off of what Wicked Cool Toys used to sell theirs for. So we're not exactly at a $250 value here, but I think we're also missing out something very important. That's a factor folks aren't realizing as much, is that this is a very limited production run. You see, I've seen a lot of comments on Twitter, on Instagram, and a lot of Facebook wrestling toy groups I'm in, where people are asking, is this going to be available after this thing is over? Meaning after the 30 days ends, oh, they can just buy it in stores. Well, I have to tell you guys, and I need to stress this, no, this is a limited run set to pre-order only. This is the equivalent of Super 7 and how they do their pre-orders for a lot of their figures. Once that pre-order is in, those figures are made to order. Once that order is done, that's it. And that's how this Kickstarter is working also. Once the order is in for that number of figures that they're producing, for the number of backers they've got, that's the end. No more are going to be made, no more are coming to stores. That's it. No more are getting made. They're done. That's it. Kaput. Game over. So how does that affect pricing? Well, that means that they're a more limited run. And when you're doing a more of a limited run, that means it changes how much things cost to get made. So yeah, that price is going to rapidly change because of that. Case in point, let's talk about Zombie Sailor's retro line of figures, the Faces and Heels line that he's doing right now, which is pretty cool. But those figures are 40 bucks. Whereas Mattel, when they were doing their WWE retros, those are about 10 to 15 straight off the market. How can the same looking figure cost so much more to make? Well, again, Zombie Sailor is doing a limited run, pre-order only. He's got a limited amount he can do, and when your quantity is lower, it costs more to make something. When your quantity is higher, it's a lot easier because you're just kind of pumping things out. I don't want to explain manufacturing to you guys because it's not like I'm in that business, but that's essentially what it is. The smaller the run, the more expensive it is to make something. And I need to stress that this crowdfunding thing that Mattel is doing is only for these 30 days. Once it's over, if you didn't get your order in, you're not getting one, plain and simple. I think another really important factor in this entire thing is that a lot of folks don't understand how crowdfunding works. And that's when, again, I come back to what I just said about people thinking they can buy the ring after the fact and that you can't. So there's a lot of wrestling fans out there who have probably never done anything on Indiegogo or on Kickstarter or any similar sites like it. I've backed a whole bunch of things on all these types of sites before, so I've got an understanding of this, and I was surprised to learn that a lot of folks don't get it. And if you watched our February Toy Fair event that we did on this channel, we talked to a lot of folks who did Kickstarters, and I was shocked to discover that they needed to actually educate their customers on how Kickstarters work because they had a lot of basic questions, and I'm seeing these same questions now be asked on social media and on Facebook groups. And a lot of that comes down to the functionality of how these types of crowdfunding things work. Now, I will say Mattel has made a pretty big misstep with this launch here of these figures because, I'm going to actually reference a Hasbro version as well. So right now, Hasbro is actually doing their own crowdfunding for a Galactus figure. It's going to be 32 inches tall. It's set for the 6-inch scale. So he's going to basically scale up accurately, or as close to accurate as you can with this type of character, for all the Marvel Legends figures. And he's going to cost $400. That's a pretty huge step up from what we're paying right now for this ring with the 2 Ultimate Edition figures. That's a pretty big difference. And so far, that one's being funded with very few problems, it seems. But I think that's because Hasbro knows what to do, and their fans also know what to do at this point and know what to expect. Mattel has never done anything like this before with WWE figures, so fans have no idea what's going on. And I think the one big misstep that they made here, and something that Hasbro didn't do, as far as I can remember, because I recently backed the Hero Quest board game that came out last year, that Kickstarter, or crowdfunding, whatever you want to call it, over on HasLab. I backed that, and I think that cost a little bit less than what I'm spending right now on Mattel's ring. But essentially what's happening now with Mattel is they're actually charging you up front for this purchase for an item that hasn't been made yet. That part bugs me a lot. I think that's a really big mistake, and I think it's also a very big turnoff for folks who want to get this thing but don't want to spend the money just yet. Now, the way Kickstarter works and other sites similar to it is you're putting your order in at this point, but you're not being charged until the Kickstarter closes. And this way, if it's successful, you do get charged. If it's unsuccessful, no charge. Problem solved. With Mattel, they are taking your money up front, and yes, I can confirm that. I checked my bank account this morning. There was the charge for it already. But Mattel did say they're going to refund it immediately if it does not go through. So, you shouldn't worry too much about it. You can always just not pay that particular bill just yet. But yeah, I mean, that is kind of an investment you're going to have to make here. It is a $250 investment, and they're going to charge you up front for it. That part does kind of suck. But here's another very important element to this entire thing that I haven't really talked about yet, and that's just how these crowdfunding things kind of operate. And in my experience with them, the first day and the last day are the two most important days of these type of crowdfunding events. Why is the first day so important? Because that day sets the tone for the rest of the crowdfunding campaign. Case in point, look at the Oatmeal's Kickstarter that he did for his game Exploding Kittens. That was essentially funded in, I think, like a day, maybe an hour or something like that. It was like a record-breaking event. It raised the most money any Kickstarter had ever raised before. That was super successful. And what that meant is, yeah, it definitely hit its mark. People knew it was going to get made, so that this way, by the time it was totally done, they raised way more than they needed. They got to make so many extra bonus things for it. So yeah, that was a super big success, partly because it did so well on day one. Now, as I mentioned, the day that I'm recording this video right now, it's basically about a full day since it launched, and we're at 15% with the ring. That's pretty abysmal. That's pretty damn pathetic, to be honest. And the comments I keep seeing from people in so many places, they're going to wait till the last day to see how far it went. That is a giant mistake, and that's what I mean when I say fans are sabotaging this thing without realizing it. If you're waiting until the last day, you are basically telling everybody out there, I don't really want this. You need to put your order in right now. Putting in your order immediately lets people know this thing is going to get made because there's an interest. And again, I don't know how many people there are on the day this video is going to get published, but I'm going to say probably close to 25% will have hopefully funded it by this point. I hope it's more, but I don't see it going beyond that point from where it is. So if there's 25 people who have funded it, and we fast forward all the way to like day 30 when this thing's about to end, and maybe by that point it hits like 30, or maybe if we're lucky, 40, you've got 60% of folks minimum who want to get this thing, but now suddenly see it's only at 40%. Well, I don't want this because it's not going to get funded. You've just sabotaged yourself. Putting in your orders as early as possible, while yes, it might hurt your wallet, and I totally understand that, but putting in your order right now is a vote of confidence to see this thing get made. And showing that vote of confidence helps other customers realize, yes, this will get made. I'm going to throw my money into the hat also. If you're waiting until the last minute, you are ruining it for everybody else. And we're definitely not going to break the 7,000 backer or the 8,000 backer thing, because those aren't hard goals to get. They're really not. And to be honest, the only way this ring is really worth that $250 price point is if we get 8,000 backers to get all those things, because otherwise, yeah, it's totally not worth that price in my opinion. Even considering the limited nature of all these pieces that go into this ring here, like the figures and all that kind of stuff, and the $250 base value for just that initial thing, it's definitely not really worth it. Getting everything, yeah, we're way closer. So if you're not putting in your money right now and saying, I want this today, you're letting folks know on day 30, it's not going to get made. Because I don't imagine there's going to be suddenly 5,000 backers rushing in on the last day to throw their money into it if it's only at 15%. Success builds off of success. And this is how these types of things work. They need to snowball together. Right now, we got this little pile of snow that nobody's pushing along and nobody's rolling into something bigger. We need that momentum. That's how crowdfunding campaigns work. You need momentum to get them going. Now, I don't know what Mattel could have done differently here. I don't really think there's a lot they could have done besides maybe spending more time explaining how the Kickstarter works. And yeah, it's out there on the website, but we know for a fact this is the internet. People aren't going to read these things. And I kind of wish that the videos that Mattel did to hype up what's coming with this ring spent a little bit more time answering fan questions and concerns, because that would have been easy to do. Just explain to people how this thing works, and also explaining kind of why it needs to get pushed real hard on day one. And I don't think they did a great job of really pushing it on day one because of how it all turned out, and because also, to be honest, I think the bonus tiers are not that great. I think there should be a lot more coming with this ring. And even if it was just stupid stuff, I wouldn't have minded things like that. Like, for example, I kind of wish this did have a commentator's table. That wouldn't cost them much to throw in there, and it's something that they did with their electronic rings not that long ago either. They put a special commentator's table that had 2 unique chairs, besides the unique figures that also came with those rings. But those commentary tables were really cool. It wouldn't cost much to make because they already have the molds. Things like that. They can throw in some extra chairs, some other tables, some other things. You know, that would be nice to do, and additional tiers also to make it more enticing, because right now, only getting 2 bonus tiers, not that great. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I did this Hero Quest board game Kickstarter with Hasbro, and they had a ton of bonuses, and bonuses get people excited. I think by the time Hero Quest was done, it raised close to $3 million, and we got a whole bunch of extra pieces, extra stories, other campaigns, a lot of other stuff. With this New Generation ring, we're not really getting that much. We're kind of just hitting the value of what it should be. So, you know, that's kind of normal too. These Kickstarters is that if they hope to be very successful, they'll do what they expect to get for that price point and make it worth it. I think Mattel kind of underestimated and over-evaluated what their ring is worth. So that part is a mistake on their end. But again, I think that fans and figure collectors are not really paying attention to how this whole thing works, how these crowdfunding campaigns operate, and in doing so, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. So the moral of the story is, if you want this New Generation arena, if you want all the stuff that comes with it, you need to back it right now. Everybody was talking the talk, but when it came time to walk the walk, no one threw their money in except for right now, less than 1,000 people. As I said, a little bit over 700 on the day that I'm recording this video. I'm hoping by the time it comes out, we'll have maybe 1,000, but still, And if you don't fund this thing either, keep in mind, they're not going to make more crowdfunding campaigns. We do know that they've already announced a Mattel Creations exclusive version of the retro figures. That's going to be the only way to get the retro figures. And those will be similarly made to order or just a very limited run, whatever they're going to be. But in order for us to get other things like this that are going to be really cool, because keep in mind, there's plenty of other stuff they can do that they probably need to have special crowdfunding to do. They're not going to do it if this fails. Mattel knows that the interest for something like this, especially at this price point, is a much smaller base than their typical wrestling fan audience. And in order for them to make more things like this, they need to see that there's an interest in it. And I think this is also a pretty important thing that people aren't really thinking about with this ring here, is that, yeah, while there are definitely going to be scalpers buying it, you're not competing with them right now. You have 30 days to get this ring before scalpers get it if it gets completed, and you know that once it hits the secondary market, the price for this is going to explode. And if you look at some of the cases from Hasbro as examples of this, look at the Sentinel that they made a few years ago and how much that goes for, or even more recent, Jabba's Sail Barge. That was an extremely expensive item, and that has now doubled in value, and it's going to keep going up because it was so limited and they're never ever going to make it again. So bottom line is, you need to get this ring today. If you have any interest in it whatsoever, you have to get it. I know it's expensive, it's going to hurt your wallet, I can tell you it definitely hurt mine, but you've got a year to get ready for it also. To kind of wrap everything up here in a nice bow, as I've been saying this whole video, if you want this thing to succeed, you got to put your money in today. Otherwise, on that final day, no one's going to show up to the party. Now, I know a lot of folks out there might have some more questions about how this whole crowdfunding campaign works or things like it. So please feel free to leave some comments. Maybe we could all answer some questions for each other, figure things out here. I'm hoping that in 30 days from now, this thing's going to be funded and we're all going to be very, very happy. But I can tell you, I'm going to be super disappointed if we get to that last day and it's only at 25%, because I know exactly what went wrong with this campaign. And like I said, a big part of that is that folks weren't willing to put their money up on that first day. Mark my words, this campaign will fail if folks who are interested in this thing do not start putting their money in over the next 2 weeks. And there needs to be a big, hard push during these 2 weeks. It needs to be a very steady incline to make sure it's going to happen, because otherwise, in that last day, it's going to go nowhere. I hate to yell at my wrestling fans, and I don't want to feel like I'm talking down to you guys either, but that's just kind of the scenario. That's where we're at right now. I want this ring to get made. I want this ring so bad. And more so, I want them to make more things like this, more limited edition things like this that we're going to get. They're going to be really cool and stuff that they otherwise cannot bring to stores. Because yeah, a ring like this, you'll never see it in Target because it's going to cost too much money. And to put that on a shelf somewhere where it's competing with other toys that are like 20 bucks, it's never going to move. If you are a serious wrestling toy collector, this is the way to do it. This is the way to show that you're serious and to show Mattel that you're serious about buying their products. So do what you got to do, but please help us make this thing happen. And if you want to do it for yourself, we're going to have links for the crowdfunded ring in our description below. So make sure you check it out if you haven't done that yet, or hopefully you'll go there right now and support it. So until next time, I'm Matthew. Thanks for watching this video all about the New Generation crowdfunded WWE ring from Mattel. And hey, I hope that we can get it. So fingers crossed. Let's make it happen, folks. See you guys next time.